Call roll, please.
Commissioner Siebold,
Sure.
Commissioner Lugers,
Sure.
Commissioner Levison.
Here.
Commissioner Tonelli is out, and Commissioner Polito, or Chair Polito.
Here. You know Paul's going to be here, but. So I'll open it up to public comments. This is for items that are not on the agenda that members of the public might want to bring to the attention, sure, consideration or what have you with the planning commission. Are there any public comments? Anybody online?
We have people online, but no hands are raised.
If you're online and you want to make a public comment at this time, raise your hand. They don't know. Here comes Paul. Okay, seeing no public comments, I'm going to close public comments. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. Guess we got to take them one by one. First, the minutes of the May 27th meeting. Are there any comments, corrections, etc.? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We'll move on to the minutes of the June 24th meeting. Again, any comments, questions, corrections? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Further discussion, I'll call vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. On to public hearing regarding the special structures permit at 2 and 60 Queens Court. And I think it's your report, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is Assistant Planner Jerry Martin here to present the special structures permit request for 2 and 60 Queens Court. Next slide, please. So this project is to request for increased building and sidewall height on a new residence of about 13,000 square feet on a proposed lot that's merging two properties, 2 Queens Court and 60 Queens Court. And planning staff recommends that the planning commission approve this request. Next slide, please. There we go. So these properties are in the R1A zoning district. And when they are merged, they'll be about 2.38 acres. Neighboring properties are all approximately 1 acre and similarly developed with single family homes and accessory structures. So when this lot is created, it'll be about a bit more than twice the size of its neighboring properties. Each lot, 2 and 60 Queens Court, contains a single family home. Those will be demolished as part of this project, and they also need to be demolished before we record the lot because since it's an R1A lot, it can't have more than 1 single family home. So it's still under the review process because of that. When it is created, it will be a corner lot facing Polhemus Avenue and Queens Court, as you can see there. Next slide, please. Bit of a lag today. So this project, as mentioned earlier, proposes demolition of 2 existing single-family residences and proposes to build a new single-family residence 2 stories tall with a basement that takes up most of the first floor footprint. That residence is proposed to be about 13,000 square feet. The project also includes other structures such as a detached ADU, 2 accessory buildings, a sports court, a pool, and several water features, as well as landscape improvements and landscape screening. The only part of this project that is contingent on the special structures permit request is the residence. And this project is still in the review process, but so far it has complied with the requirements of the Atherton Municipal Code. Next slide, please. I guess I'll just start speaking. Okay. So as mentioned, the project requires planning commission consideration for increased building and sidewall height. So our code allows for increased building and sidewall height with a special structures permit with two extra requirements. The first is that even though it can get extra height, the top of roof height cannot be more than 34 feet and the sidewall height cannot be more than 28 feet. So this project is proposing 34 feet is the top of roof height and 26 feet for sidewall height. So an increase of 4 for each. And you can see there on the front elevation, the showing what the increase is. I will also add, as you can see there, there's a chimney on top of the top of roof. Our code allows for the chimney to protrude up to 6 feet above the top of roof. Next slide, please. The second requirement is that for every 1 foot increase in building height, you're required to do an extra 5 foot increase in the setback for that portion, not for the whole building. So because this is requesting 4 extra feet, it is required to have 20 extra feet of setbacks for that portion from each property line, the front, sides, and the rear. So the applicant is proposing not only to meet that, but for most of them, except the front, to exceed that. So as you can see there, there's an extra setback for that second story of the increased height for the sides and the rear. And that is shown on the next slide. Next slide, please. The elevations showing from the front elevation, the east side there is 24 extra feet for that second story portion. And from the west side, it is about 18 feet and 11 inches more. Next slide, please. So for the planning commission to approve a special structures permit, there are 3 findings to make. The first is that the proposed building or structure will not negatively impact neighboring properties with respect to privacy and view. Planning department believes that this finding has been met. First, that the lot is over 2 acres. It's quite large, and most of all of the house is going to be situated on what's currently 2 Queens Court, meaning that the properties to the southern portion of this new lot are going to be very insulated from it. There's going to be a whole almost acre between them. And that 2 Queens Court currently is the corner lot. So most of the sides are going to be facing the street, and then one side is facing a neighbor. But as we mentioned, there's already excessive setbacks from that neighbor and from the street too. Second is that the dormers are decorative in the increased height area, including the rest of the increased height area uses non-usable space where you can't look out of. So there's dormers that you can't look out of, any windows there. The only portion that you can look out of is facing Polhemus, and it's a stairwell. So neighbor privacy was taken into account during the design of this house. As mentioned, most of the visual impacts faces public streets and not neighbors, or at least not directly abutting neighbors. And there's also ample existing landscape screening on the lot, and they are proposing to add more as well. Next slide, please, Tom. I would also like to bring up that we received public comment today from the neighbor that owns several properties across Queens Court. Their major concern with this project is that the visual impact that it would impose on the area around it. One thing that they bring up is that the grade from the eastern side to the western side of Queens Court naturally increases. So from their perspective, the house will appear already naturally larger than it is. And then they're concerned that an extra height increase will visually impose, and they'll be able to see it. And yeah, it'll impact their view. Previous slide, please, Tom. Planning department still maintains that we believe this finding is met because of the increased setback and the fact that Queens Court is already 40 feet wide. And then on top of that, the house on that side of Queens Court is set back as well. So we do believe that there is a sufficient setback, and in addition to the existing landscape screening and proposed landscape screening, that any visual impact is going to be negated. So the second finding for the Planning Commission to make is that the proposed building or structure complies with other development standards, restrictions, or limitations for the proposed building or structure, such as height and landscape screening. And we believe this finding has been met. We are not going to approve the project unless it does comply with the Atherton Municipal Code. We're in the process of reviewing it, and everything that we've found so far, we complies, and anything that hasn't, we've instructed the applicant to fix. The third finding is that the granting of the special structures permit is consistent with the objectives of the general plan in this title. We believe that this finding is met, as this will not impact the town's wooded single-family character. Large single-family residences are very typical in Atherton, including residences that have used this exact process to have increased height on their home. In addition, this will not require heritage tree removals or encroach into tree protection zones. So this also keeps Atherton's wooded character. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So for the reasons in the staff report and in this presentation, I recommend that the Planning Commission approve the special structures permit requests to accommodate a new 13,000 square foot two-story residence with increased building and sidewall heights on the proposed merged lot containing 2 Queens Court and 60 Queens Court. And that concludes my presentation. Tom, if you can skip a couple slides for next, the applicant would like to speak. Thank you. To speak during public comments. Thank you.
Open it for first questions. Point. Okay, I'll open up for public comment. Wants to speak on this topic?
Hello, my name is Guy Metapola. I'm with Sturman Architects, the design team of this house. I just want to say that we're very excited to work on this project. We always look forward to growing up. Sorry. We always look forward to ground up projects like this because it's a blank slate. We can really design something beautiful and special and authentic, which is an important word for us because we're classicists. Our firm has been practicing for 30 years, and we've carved out a niche as one of the best classical practices in the Bay Area. And, you know, we really strongly adhere to classical principles, canon, rules, orders, and most importantly, historical precedent. And in this case, we're trying to bring a French chateau style home to Atherton. We're fortunate to also have owners that are just as passionate about classicism as we are. Obviously, most people who work with us are interested in classicism, but these owners actually traveled to France during our design period. They went around the country, they looked at some of these chateaus, they did their research, took photos, and came back to us with notes, which was, you know, a wonderful process to work with them like that. And, you know, these homes are taller, they have grand spaces, they have high ceilings. And as we alluded to in our letter, the mansard roofs and the dormer windows are important design aspects for homes like these. So the provision in the code that allows for that extra 4 feet in height, we feel is very important. It'll allow us to really complete this home to be as authentic as it could possibly be. We're looking forward to hopefully your approval on this. I don't want to repeat anything that's in our letter or in the staff report, so I'll really just leave it at that. Our company has completed a few homes in Atherton over our 30 years, and we look forward to another beautiful home for the owners and for the community. Thanks.
Any other public comment? I'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission.
Why don't we give them a chance? If you could just say one more time.
Is there anybody online who would like to make a public comment on this particular project? Right, I'm going to close, thank you. Close public comment. Bring it back to commission.
Okay, so kind of looking at the diagram that was just shown on slide 5, so it looks like any of those circular dormer windows would be below the basic requirement of 30 feet. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. The top of the dormer
No
windows.
windows above the 30-foot.
No
typical.
active, no real windows. Those dormers are all fake. They're all just part of the architecture only.
And then the chimneys would be 6 feet above the 34 feet that
That's-
you're asking for?
Yes.
And then there was one mention of landscape planning. I think, in my opinion, that would be a big part of this as far as impact on the neighbors and things like that. Do you have any details on any landscape plans yet, or what the, you don't have to go into details, but what the general plan is?
Yes, there's going to be a wall along the perimeter of the property with privacy hedging as part of that wall. And then the owners are planting new trees all along the perimeter on Polymus, Queens, and on the interior neighbor side as well. There's a few historic trees that are heritage trees that we are keeping on the west side and on the east side. So it's going to be, we plan for it to be heavily wooded, yes, outside of the building footprint.
And then looking at the plan, just to make sure I'm clear on this, I think it's important as far as the impact on the neighbors is concerned. So essentially, the bulk of the facing of the house would be facing Polhemus. Am I correct on that?
Yes,
So it would be the side of the house, or the east side of the house would be the one exposed to Queens Court.
correct.
And how high are these hedges that are shown in the,
I think
Drawing.
we'll make them as high as allowed by code. Yeah. I think there's a wall limit of maybe 7 feet and then an appropriate height above that, maybe 2 or 3 feet higher than that.
Beautiful, I'm sure you'll do a beautiful job. I'm just curious, as you know, we'll see about it. We're always concerned about having our neighbors. Was there any attempt to contact the neighbors prior to coming here and share with them the design and just let them know kind of what was happening?
We did reach out to the interior neighbor on the west side because we felt they would be most affected, being closest to the property and being interior lot line as opposed to a street, but they were the only ones. We have not. No, we were not aware of the public comment until today.
so I've walked, I've probably spent half an hour, 20 to 30 minutes walking around these places. One Queen Court is 1 story. 5 Queen Courts is 1 story. And 85 Queen Court, it's 2 story, but it looks like there is considerable, some big redwoods between them and any view of the property. I'm not sure that it's going, especially with the hedges that currently exist on 1 and 5 Queen, how much that they're going to be able to see of this house, even at 34 feet.
Substantial screening now,
Yes.
assuming some of those are heritage trees, some probably aren't. I'd
Yeah.
go tree to tree, but there's substantial screening. And talking about the east elevation, which has a Or,
There's a lower portion, yes, on the east and west sides, a single story portion before it steps up, and that the taller portion is 94 feet off the street.
on the east side.
Correct.
Personally, I think it'd be minimal visual impact. You mentioned that there's some grade, but it's noticeable to me between one side of Queens Court and the other. There probably is some, but suitable screening, et cetera, I can't see that it's going to be a big. And I kind of doubt it's going to bring down the property values. Yes, Brittany.
Commissioners, Town Planner Brittany Bendix. I just wanted to point out that there is perimeter landscaping required. Typically, Sally, the town arborist, would not review this until the building permit is submitted. But the requirement for the minimum tree shrub size and growth rate is that all trees and shrubs shall be at least 24-inch box container size at the time of installation and shall reach a minimum height of 22 feet at maturity in accordance with the Sunset Western Garden Book or similarly accepted industry standard reference guide. So I think the applicant here mentioned as much as possible and then was referring to fences and walls. Landscaping has another entire set of standards that goes much higher.
Right, and 22 feet on the perimeter, when they're looking from ground level, they're not even going to see the top of the new structure, I don't think.
With a close to 90-foot setback from that property line, it's not likely.
I would just say to the applicant real quick, and I'll probably discuss this when we do the mission comments, but if you want a couple of examples of this, I don't know how well you know Atherton. But there's one that to me looks like the right way to do it, absolutely, and one that just stands out as, in my opinion, the wrong way to do it. And first one is on 141 Tuscaloosa. They came before the commission many years ago, asking for a similar height variance, and they exceeded the setbacks. They did a great job with the house, but they did a fantastic job with the screening. And you check it out just by driving by. Now it's a larger lot. I think it's just under 4 acres, but I think it's might be a larger size house. I'm not sure exactly what the square footage is. Point is, they wanted to go to 34 feet for a smaller portion of the house than you're asking, but they still wanted to go 34 feet. And with the way they did it, with the way they exceeded the setbacks, and especially with the screening they put up across the property, you can't see anything back there. And it has had, in my opinion, I don't live there, but zero impact on the neighbors, at least perceived by me. The other one that I walk by all the time and I look at, and I think is a complete eyesore, is, and I don't know the exact address, but I think it's on Park Lane at Santiago. And it's not as classical as the building you're designing, but similar, only a little bit more modern looking. Big footprint. I don't know what the height is, but it's very imposing. It's almost like an optical illusion because you look at it and it looks like it's 50 feet high. But there's no screening whatsoever. And I just think it looks out of place and not in character with the neighborhood. So if you want to take a look at both of those, on one for the right way to do it and get the screening done and have no impact, and one that just kind of looms over the neighborhood that really is not very attractive. Those are two of them.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and
Sure.
we'll take a look. And the clients are interested in their own privacy as well, so they don't want to be as exposed. I'm sure they'll be happy to do as much screening as the commission feels is necessary. Absolutely.
Other comments, questions?
I can only say. Building. It's always like the more gracious thing to do, and that avoids us getting emails like this right before we come to the commission. So I mean, we reach out to certain neighbors that are. In fact, they will be looking right now at the front of that, specifically. It would be helpful in the future to reach out. Just to let neighbors know what's going on, so they're not as confused or surprised.
And staff still, uh, given all the circumstances in this letter, you're still recommending.
That is correct, yes.
So given that I'm going to be a no, I might as well explain why. So I live behind a house that is non-conforming in terms of height. I can't explain because I wasn't here at the time how it got through the town, but it looms over our house. It looms over the neighbor's house in spite of the fact that the residence is probably 90 feet from our house. And I can't tell you the number of times we've had people that are in our backyard who look up and out and they kind of go, how did that ever get built? So I think houses that are, this is 48 Patricia. So I think houses that are non-conforming in terms of height fundamentally change the character of the neighborhood. And there is enormous screening around this house, but still at the angle of the height of that house, no matter how big the redwoods are or the oak trees are, we're still looking at their roof.
Other- I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make it. I move that the planning commission approve the special structures permit request for increased building and sidewall heights based on the findings in the staff report and subject to the conditions of certificate.
Seconded. Better do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Siebolt,
No,
Commissioner Levison,
Back to me.
Vice Chair Tonelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Lugers,
Yes.
and Chair Polito,
Yes.
and Commissioner Levison. 3 yes, 2 no.
Okay, when that happens. Motion passes. I guess it's a staff report.
Brittany Bendix, Town Planner, a few items for you on the staff report or for as staff report. Commissioner Lugers asked me what the most recent multifamily activity was. So most of it is unchanged from the last time we spoke, but we do have a tentative parcel map application for 197 Ravenswood. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, 197 Ravenswood. And we provided some feedback on that already, and that is to move forward with a 16-unit project. So using the density bonus program to do that. We do have a number of changes in terms of applicant activity, pretty much on an ongoing basis. So one thing that I've spoken to the city manager about is posting a list of the activity on the sites online, just so that you as decision makers and the city council members as well have something to point neighbors that are asking for updates on too. And then they can reach out to the planning department if they have any more specific inquiries.
That'd be great.
It's RM10 and with density bonuses, they got to 16.
Yes. So part of this is an iterative process. There were comments from staff relative to, hey, you need to be able to justify this using the density bonus process. And there's going to be a back and forth, but that's where they've started at. And this is, they've also proposed, what they're proposing is 2 stories. Just to give you kind of a sense of the massing.
Yeah, but I don't have my chart in front of me, but What did they do to get to 16? I mean, how many?
They
low-income-
provided 2 low-income units.
Low income, not very low income or moderate or,
Actually, Jerry specified it's 3 income. They provided 3 low-income units. I think 2 are low income and 1 is very low income. So that does help the town with its RENA requirement as well.
I understand.
And then we did have, as I've mentioned previously, we had a number of preliminary applications filed in March. 2 of those applications, the checks bounced. And so the applicant has come back wanting to submit. I've told him that the vesting has expired or wasn't really vested because the payment never went through, and we did try and contact them a number of times. So that project, if it does move forward, it would be the first project that moves forward under the inclusionary housing program. And so they were already including 1 low-income unit. It looks like they would keep that, but then also have to pay the inclusionary housing fees. So that's helpful because that's now drawing in some funding for other opportunities. Any other questions on multifamily housing before I move on?
Good.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention was a very big hot topic right now, kind of at the council level, is nuisance that is deriving from multiple construction projects, generally within a specific area. The town does require that applicants provide a construction operation plan. So when you submit your building permit, there is a sheet that's required to identify to code enforcement and the building department where you're going to park your staff, how you're going to phase development, where equipment is located, where bathrooms are located, and so on. The building department and code enforcement team are collaborating to address some of the concerns that they've heard from the council at a recent study session and modify the requirements of the construction operations plan formally in the Atherton Municipal Code. So they will be bringing amendments to the AMC to the city council in September. So if that's something that's been on your mind, I know maybe at least a couple of you have dealt with construction problems in your neighborhood. It might be sensitive or want to participate in that discussion. That will be coming up at the September council meeting.
So are they operating out of code?
In some instances, the code just doesn't address the issue. And
So they're
so
not really doing anything wrong. It just so happens there's a lot of activity in a small space.
it's both. There are problems with parking. There's definitely an issue where you are not allowed to park or your workers are not allowed to park in certain areas, and they're doing that. And it can be challenging to have an actual response based on the existing ticketing structure, for example. And so one angle I think that the building director is pursuing is increasing the fines, or at least staggering the fine so that they get progressively more. On Tuesday, yesterday, the building department and code enforcement team held a meeting with a bunch of builders to try and get some feedback in this area. And a lot of it, frankly, does boil down to the construction team doing outreach to neighbors. And we do have builders that never seem to have any code enforcement problems. Or the neighbors don't call us because they're actively engaging with the neighbors. If they generate one of the examples they mentioned is that if they generate a lot of dust on site, they'll stick 2 free car wash tickets to Duckies on the mailboxes, like a gesture of goodwill, right? And it's that active engagement that we don't necessarily see across the board with the builders in town. And so it's what the building department is trying to navigate is allowing some flexibility that doesn't have to be codified, but making sure that builders that aren't doing anything are brought up to a level where they know how to be good neighbors.
Specifically, where's the current problem?
I
I
can tell you one, because I'm right by your example, house that was,
Oh, on Park.
I'm right behind, one story. They are over 3 years. Never reached it. They park in front of my house, they block my walkway, had coded out for a day or two and move the cones out and park in front. I've never heard from either homeowner or construction company once just say, hey, we're here, we know it's difficult, it's fine. There's no way an emergency.
There's other construction going on across from that.
So I was listening to that discussion at the council meeting. They're also considering an ordinance that would require remote parking for construction, which city of Hillsborough already has. So there's a lot of options on the table. I mean, I personally have had construction on our street it's a cul-de-sac. We've had construction on our street for 12 years. So it doesn't bother me. I mean, they've been pretty good about it, so. But it's everywhere.
Yeah, well, the parking is a huge issue. Related to that, maybe I'll go to the meeting in September, is maybe hours of parking, because I think in order to find a spot,
Mhm.
see construction workers showing up at 7:15, because
6:30.
Yeah.
I get out there early to walk in the mornings, right? So they'll show up as early as 7:15, waiting for 8 o'clock, just so I think so they can find a spot. Man, maybe they're just out early, but maybe there's something you put in it with the code that, no, don't arrive on site until 7:30 or.
Well,
something.
I think, I've seen a lot of that, and I think that's mostly because they're coming long distance and traffic. That's my guess.
Another topic I've heard is trash and debris. The food trucks came up in conversation, is where they parked. I think on Park Street, they came up as like, it's not so much, it's not just the hours. It could be that the amount of parking is an obstruction. That actually came up on Tom's project. I'm blanking on the address. Yeah, on Melanie, which is a cul-de-sac and has 2 or 3 projects going on at the same time. And so you received a comment letter on the tree removal request, just kind of outright fighting the project in concept because they were fatigued by the number of construction vehicles at any given time. Santiago has been noted as an issue. I think Linda Vista, I've heard complaints since I've been here because of multiple projects going on. Basically, the smaller the street or the nature of it, like being a cul-de-sac, kind of generates the concerns. Moving.
Definitely an issue. We can't even, getting out of the cul-de-sac, I mean, I can't even. Sides. Parked in such a way that block the view.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that was mentioned is requiring on the construction operations plan to show the visibility triangle to ensure that all the contractors know that you can't park within that area. Also showing the trees, because Sally has pulled out a number of times and finds damage because the workers are parking in the TPZ zones. And it's, you at the planning commission, one of the things that came up is, well, why can't we give this to the planning commission, the planning department to deal with? And it's because a lot of time the teams that you see in front of you here are not who ends up as the team on the ground, right? Here, you're going to see the architect, a landscape architect, but then you can't even necessarily guarantee that that individual or that firm is then on the ground when the construction is actually taking place. We can't mandate that, certainly.
We don't see contractors.
And so the building permit becomes really critical as communicating all of the requirements from the planning commission all the way to the construction operations plan on what's actually expected of the operation. So
Not monitored, I mean, does Google come out to? How is that monitored? Because
Somebody complains.
it's complaint based.
less I'm calling all the time, not coming by, all I have to do is look down the cul-de-sac and say, locked in. There are times I have to wait. I can't. Again, let alone fire truck.
So that gets back to the penalty side, right? Is that if there's not any sort of response to repetitive enforcement, the building official kind of having support by the council to say, all right, well, then I'm going to issue a stop work order at some phase, right? If you've ignored us 2 or 3 times, then we're shutting your project down. Because while a ticket might not mean anything, delays to actual construction are very meaningful, especially financially. So it's just kind of, that's the effort.
Isn't the existing rule that they can only park in front of the construction project?
I actually don't know the specific rule.
I thought that was a rule.
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
But there's also residents that if it's a smaller project, they don't even want the workers brought onto the smaller project parking in or near the vicinity of their home. So there's that level that we have to deal with too.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, just to give you a sense of kind of the policy work I anticipate bringing for the rest of the year. I am hoping to have an update to the heritage tree ordinance that I've been working on with Sally before you next month. That should tackle redwood trees, which has been a topic since for at least the last couple of years and has been kind of put on the back burner because of the housing element work. We also need to update the appeals process relative to appealing fines. If you recall, back in December, we had a couple of hearings that the commission really didn't have much that they could do with because the applicant had removed a tree, had to pay a penalty, and they were appealing the fine to the commission, and it's pretty black and white. So the idea here would be moving that to a hearings officer. And then clarifications on the heritage tree ordinance and how it applies to multifamily development. That's something that's kind of a gray area at the moment. Applicants can use the density bonus law to get out of it. But we wanted to still tighten that language. So those are kind of the big efforts that you'll see coming forward in the heritage tree ordinance. Following that, Tom is working on just a general code cleanup. So if you have any items that have been on your mind that you hate about the planning code and would like to elevate for discussion, this would be a good opportunity to do that. And you can reach out to Tom. And then lastly, we still have to address chickens. So that'll be the end of the year, wrapping up for the planning commission. We'll be looking at requirements for chickens. That's it.
As in, or can't you?
Yeah, and where can they be located?
Chicken.
Oh, I think it's best ignored.
Foul of the law.
There we go.
Good reason.
On that note, somebody should make a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Sorry.
Second, all in favor, aye.
All right.